It's a desperate situation, and that is the bottom line. And I went, as you said, I was in Khan Younis, and I went to a hospital there called Al Nasser. And the amazing thing was, as we pulled up to the hospital, it was just there were crowds and crowds of people around there. So many young people, children. It was just incredible to see it teeming with people. And then I got in the hospital, and every single floor had people camped out, staying there. Blankets on the floor. They sought refuge in the hospital. They were staying there, not people who were seeking medical care, just people who had come from other parts of the country or parts of the territory who were looking for a place to stay and were staying there. And I think, the doctors and the nurses there are doing their best, but it's obviously a very dire situation. UNICEF is working hard to get water and supplies, medical supplies in, but it's very, very challenging. What they were concerned about at the time, the doctors that I met with, they took me into the place where they have the incubators and the babies in the incubators, and they're very worried about when they're going to run out of fuel for their generators. Right, that's the thing that really seemed to occupy their minds at this point. I think they are worried that they're not going to be able to provide enough services, and if they don't have the fuel, that's devastating, because then they can't run those incubators, which means it would be very hard. Those babies were so tiny. They just couldn't survive if they didn't have the incubators working. What I said is that UNICEF is there. We will stay there. We've always been there. We have many staff who are from Gaza and who are committed to being there. We have international staff. We're moving more staff in. We're doing our best to get as many supplies in as we possibly can to try to help the population. And of course, we're advocating with everyone for a humanitarian ceasefire so we have the space to do the work we need to do. It's challenging. I think everyone is hoping that at some point this ends and that they can get back to some normalcy in life. We're trying to make sure that children have what they need to survive and to hopefully have a brighter future from what they have right now. The point we've made is that the fuel is important, certainly for the generators, and it's critical for the hospitals, the incubators. It's also really important for the water sanitation, which is a critical issue there, right? Children and others, of course, but we always focus on children, need clean water. We don't want them drinking brackish water. They're going to get sick, which is, we don't need that on top of everything else. We also need the fuel so that our people can move around, right? They have to have fuel for their vehicles so they can deliver the humanitarian support that we're getting into the country and that we're into the territory and that we're helping them to provide. So the fuel is critical. We're advocating with everyone we can on that point, and also just making the point to everyone that, conflict is always bad for children. War is always bad for children. They don't start wars. They can't stop them, but they suffer the most, and that every person who's a party to these things has to take children into account and do their absolute best to protect them.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.